Hey everyone, what's up? And good morning. And it is Friday, the first Friday in November. Welcome to another edition of the Animated Girls Profile Confidential. Yes, you can probably tell by my voice that it's a little early, and I'm doing this at about 7:17 in the morning. So figure. But with that said, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I figured that with the debut of another character that I'll get into in another edition because I just talked about her on camera as a response to Andre Meadows' comment or question of asking fans to talk about what they thought about her debut over this past Sunday. I decided I was going to talk about another love interest in uh, the case of Raphael. That's right. Raphael actually had two love interests, actually several, depending on what kind of medium or media or outlet you see the Ninja Turtles in. See, he kind of has one right now in the current IDW comic. And I'm not talking about the IDW comic that's an adaptation of the Nickelodeon series. I'm talking one that's more set up to be aimed at the older audience. Kind of a mixture of what we see in the Nickelodeon series, but more for, like I said, the older audience. More mature, basically more in a sense similar to what people would expect maybe from the original Mirage comics when they came out. Now, the character, as you see in front of you, is a character that debuted at the end of the 28th issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures. That's right, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Adventures by Archie Comics. This was at a time when Archie Comics, from I believe 1988 to about 1995 or 96, had the license to produce. Hold on for a sec. Had to get my morning coffee there, but this was at a time between 88, I'm assuming between 88, 89 and 95, 96, between that time frame of 7 to 8 years. 7 to 8 years. 7, not 78. I know it sounded like I just said that, but it's between 7 to 8 years. Archie Comics had the license to produce and release Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books. Now, the first comic books, the first few issues, did kind of tie into the comic, well, not the comic, but into the cartoon in a very similar fashion. Basically, they were almost identical. They were almost identical adaptations, in a sense, to the episodes you had seen, except they were in comic book form. But after that, Archie Comics, the writers on the Ninja Turtles Archie comic book series, were given, I guess you could say, free reign to go off and do their own thing. The only catch that I saw was the fact that the style of the Ninja Turtles had to, in a way, reflect a majority of the time the art style and stuff had to reflect, in a sense, what came off of the animated cartoon series, even though the stories being written, being told, were being aimed at a more older audience. Yeah, they were being made and told and being aimed at a more older audience. Why do I say that? Because there are certain situations that happen later on in the comic that, you really think, wow, I don't see them getting away with this in the animated cartoon. It's because comic books always differ in many ways from the animated adaptations. Heck, you take a look at X-Men in the 1990s, and true, they were a show aimed at the older audience, and older kids and all that. But here was the difference. the older audience, kids, if you will, the tweens, the teenagers, if you will, pretty much had an idea of why these were pretty much had an idea why there was a difference between the cartoon series and the comic. You know, because what you saw in the comic was a little bit more mature and, well, let's just put it this way, a little bit more complicated for even the young viewers to understand. Thus, while you had these adaptations that, in a way, did stay true to the comic book or the story arc they were adapting, but they stayed true in a loose sense, in a very loose sense. So, how does Ninjara fit into this? Well, like I said, at the end of issue 28 of the Ninja Turtle Adventures by Archie Comics is where she made her debut. Now, originally, she was aligned with a villainous, I think his name was a Chin Khan or something like that. He was basically an anthropomorphic dog, maybe a mutant dog or something like that. We don't know. Just anthropomorphic, kind of a canine. And she had no idea what his true intentions were until she found out later on in the following issue or so. And she found out that basically, you know, despite the fact that she was presented and debuted basically like, well, not just as an assassin, but a thief, well, not just as an assassin, but as a thief for hire, something like a bounty hunter in a way. Ninjara did not approve of the fact that Chin Khan, I think that's what his name, was going to use pollution, chemicals, if you will, to summon some kind of demon to wipe out the population, basically wipe out life itself. She wasn't too thrilled by that. It's like, yeah, I've done a lot of things myself, but even I have my limits. Even I have my methods, my code of honor in a sense. Even though, like I said, she was an assassin and a thief. So, long story short, when she first encounters the turtles and fights with them, as I mentioned in my other video, she starts basically kicking the butts at times while they're trying to fight her and the minions of Chin Khan that accompanied her. They try to fight her, and Rapheal, you know, just like this past Sunday in his encounter with you-know-who, gets impressed by this and starts kind of flirtating a little bit with Ninjara. Now, Ninjara at first doesn't really recuperate it, but as the battle keeps going on, and I think even Rapheal kind of helps her out at times, when she sees the truth, if you will, finally sees the truth, she starts to recuperate and resend those affections that he has. Long story short, she ends up helping them defeat Chin Khan by basically turning against him after she finds out the truth. And she ends up aligning herself with the turtles because basically, as we find out issues later, she never really had any place else to go. She never did. And by being around the turtles at times, it really started to rub off on her. Now, she was still the same Ninjara, like she could kick your butt, you know, if you messed with her. But she started to really soften. In other words, she started to become more understanding of, okay, maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You know, maybe there is this, maybe there is that. You know, maybe there is life, a better life for me out there. And maybe it is with the turtles. And she ended up becoming a part of the here's the thing, if Nickelodeon would have done a intro, no, well, not Nickelodeon, but let's say CBS or Fox Kids, or 4Kids, if you will, did an intro with Ninjara, but did an intro for the Turtles for a season that would introduce Ninjara, and after she gets introduced, just like in the comics, she becomes part of the team. You know, they would suit that intro to where not only would they mention the Turtles, but now they would also mention her. You know, not only would they mention the Turtles and Splinter, but they would also mention her. So I kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that that's how she was brought into with the comics. She was basically brought in as that fifth member. And it really worked out. It really did. And and the relationship between her and Raphael, true, spoilers here, true, did not last very long. Now, for any of you that are wondering, you're probably wondering, let me explain. You see, she was with the team officially from basically the end of the 29th issue all the way to about issue 71, 72. Yeah, she was with them for 40-something issues. For about 42 to 43 issues, Ninjara was a part of their team. She was a regular character. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened. Unfortunately, the comic ended up being canceled, from what I understand. And her last appearance, which was the Moon Eye Saga, was her last appearance in the Turtle comic book period. Now, she did make a return to comic book form about a few years later when she appeared in several issues of Furlog, which was done by Radio Comics. And the reason she was able to do that is because the people that created her for the Ninja Turtle comics had the license and rights to her. So, yeah, she lasts about 42 to 43 issues, several super specials, I'd say about 2 or 3. So you're looking at almost 45 to 46 issues with this character, maybe more so than we expect. And then you add in her own individual issues. She had with Furlog. She had a decent run in the comics. There's no doubt about that. Now you're probably asking yourself, well, Brian, she's a comic book character. Why would you add her to Animated Girl Profiles Confidential? Well, because there's something. Well, that's a good question, and I'm going to answer that. Now, true, she's mainly known as a comic book character, but a little bit of trivia. She was originally supposed to be in a CBS Saturday morning spin-off of the Ninja Turtles called The Mutant Animals. That's right. The people that created Ninjara didn't just create her to appear in the comic books as the 5th member of the Ninja Turtles. No. They had created her because she was going to star alongside the other characters from the Mutant Animals comic book in their own Ninja Turtle spin-off series called Mighty Mutant Animals. She was going to team up, in this series, she was going to team up with Mondo Gecko, Man Ray, who else? Mondo Gecko, Man Ray, that Cheetah guy, and several other characters. I think several other characters I can't think of. But yeah, she was going to team up with them. And a human ally of theirs, I think, who was going to be Mondo Gecko's girlfriend in the comics, as she was, as well as be the girlfriend in the series. Basically, she was going to be part of that team, and it was going to be more of a cartoony-like style in a sense, from what I understand. I mean, there is animation cells or animation promo artwork or something like that out there that you could find that kind of shows you what she would have looked like. But yeah, she would have been part of this series. She would have been animated for this series. Unfortunately, the series never came to be due to the fact that Archie Comics had decided to cancel the Mighty Mutant Animals comic book, integrate it into backstories for the Ninja Turtle comic books, only to kill off the Mighty Mutant Animals. That's right. They killed off the Mighty Mutant Animals after they became backup stories for the Ninja Turtles. And you can also add appearances in that, doing a crossover with the comic. You can add that to her list of comic book appearances, but still, like I said, they had killed off the Mighty Mutant Animals. And like I said, I think it consisted of Mondo Gecko, Man Ray, the Cheetah guy, and a few. Let's see. Screw Loose, and that bat as well. So, Screw Loose and his little mosquito friend, or whatever his name was. And I think one more. I can't think of it right now. But those characters got killed off in a backup story that tied into a main story later on in the Ninja Turtle comic, in the Ninja Turtle comic book, all due to the fact that Archie Comics had canceled the comic book of Mighty Mutant Animals. I think Playmates also played a role in it because there was supposed to be some figures, and I think they were slowly releasing the figures for Mighty Mutant Animals toy line, and then that got canceled. So any plans for a cartoon series got canceled along with it. Now, I'm not too sure if there ever was a pilot, an unaired animated pilot or something like that that was made but never aired. I'm not sure about that. But if there is, let me know. Let me or anybody else know in the comments, because that'd be interesting to see. But yeah, but yeah, she was supposed to be an animated character as well as being in the comic books. So that is why technically she's part of this in a way. Part of Animated Girl Profiles Confidential, because she originally wasn't just supposed to be part of the Ninja Turtle comic book and part of the Ninja Turtle team. She was supposed to be part of the Mighty Mutant Animals cartoon series as well. So that is why she, in a sense, qualifies to be part of Animated Girl Profile Confidentials. And really, that's all I have to say about her. That's really all I have to, it's not really all I have to say. Hold on. I had to get a drink of coffee there. Again, like I said, that's not all I have to say about her. Surprisingly, here's something that a lot of us didn't know about until the internet came around. Now, like I said, around issue 71, 72 were her last appearances with the comic book, with the Ninja Turtle comic book. Long story short, she and Rapheal, towards the end, spoilers, were having relationship problems because Rapheal still had that anger, and her being around sort of kind of was helping being a calming, and her being around, she was sort of being a calming influence, or at least trying to be. But something had happened throughout the comic. I got to go back and reread the issues, that you could kind of see in a way was slowly manifesting, maybe, at the fact that this spark was, it was still there, but it was slowly diminishing. To the point that Moon Eyes came around, and basically she started to fall in love with somebody else. And this person was almost very similar to her kind, to her. In fact, this person had a similar background to her as well. His name was Mokashan, and he basically at the end of Moon Eyes ended up becoming the new love interest of Ninjara. Even though the last panel between her and Raphael, you see tears in their eyes and basically realizing this is not what they wanted, but it's happened. And again, this was all due to the fact that the comic was being canceled. Now, I know some people might argue that, but that's the truth, because originally, had the license continued, had Archie Comics continued with the license continued to have the license to produce the comic book, then we would have had another story with Ninjara. This story, which they tried to revive several years ago for the 25th anniversary of the overall Ninja Turtle franchise, this story was called The Forever War. And I think it was supposed to take place across multiple issues. And like I said, they tried to revive it a few years ago. I think Archie Comics was going to be part of this to kind of finally give the fans, as part of a 25th anniversary gift to the fans, sort of a payoff, a true finale to the adventure series. Unfortunately, once again, something happened behind the scenes and the project fell through. But the Forever War was supposed to be also supposed to feature the return of Ninjara. Now, I don't know exactly how she would have returned. I think there was something dealing with time travel or something. I'm not really sure. And they would have gotten the Ninjara of the past to come in and help, and she would find out. I guess My guess is, my opinion, they would have brought in Ninjara from the past. She would have found out from Raphael of the present what happened between her and him. And maybe, my opinion, maybe she would try to change things to where that wouldn't happen. You know, to where at least they could stay together. Again, that's just my opinion of what I think probably would have happened and the reason she was being brought in. Not just to help fight the Shredder, which was the main baddie of the Forever War, but also the fact that maybe she was being brought in to kind of reconcile and try to, you know, prevent what had happened in Moon Eyes from happening again. So that's just my opinion on it. Even though, here's the thing about Moon Eyes. We had a story arc around the 30 and 40 issues. Well, not actually the 30 or 40 issues, but more along. Yeah, it was about the 30 or 40 issues, yeah. We had a story arc that at the end of it, you had a future Raphael embracing Ninjara and basically telling her to give him and his, telling her or begging her to give them, basically himself and his mainly his past self, his present self, another chance because something happens that causes them to break up. Now, again, you know, we pretty much kind of had an idea that something was on the horizon, that something possibly was going to happen, and we didn't like it. If you were a fan of the comic, you were a fan of Ninjara and Raphael in the comic, you didn't like it when you found out that this was hinting at something that was going to break them up, and you weren't cool with it. Now, like I said, the Forever War was supposed to bring her back. I don't know what would have happened. My speculation is maybe her being there was going to probably help fix things between her and Raphael, and then what happened in Moon Eyes would never happen, basically be erased from existence. You know, I'm just saying. And just my thoughts on it, just my speculation. But, yeah, overall, Ninjara to me is one of those characters that's truly, as they say, a badass character. Can be sweet and kind and nice, but also if you get on her bad side, she will kick your butt. She will literally lay you out, period. Now, a little bit of backstory on Ninjara, though. As we find out, and I do recommend going and reading the comics. You can find them online at several of the Ninja Turtle websites. I'm sure you can find them. Well, as you can torrent them as well. We find out that Ninjara is not a mutant. She's not. Now, I'm sure they may have changed that. Now, I'm sure if the animated cartoon would have came out of mutant animals, that they probably would have changed that and she would have been. But she wasn't. And what she was is she came from an ancient race of humanoid foxes that were hidden and secluded on an island, hidden by fog. Hidden by clouds and fog, so that nobody knew it was there. Nobody knew of their existence. Now they did do a story in issue 45, where some kind of hunter found out about their existence and was hunting them. And it was in this issue of issue 45 that we got introduced to Ninjara's little brother, Naga. That's his name, Naga. I'm not lying. We got introduced to her little brother. We also found out that her real name is Yumiko. And that the reason she was given Ninjara, the name of Ninjara, is because of what she had done in the past to her people. Well, not specifically to her people, but of the past she had chosen that her people did not approve of. And I guess Ninjara was some kind of name they gave her that kind of, you know, meant, you know, she was a traitor. She had turned her back against them. We basically ought to read issue 45 of the Archie Ninja Turtle comic books, or Ninja Turtle Adventure comic books, to kind of get the full story. But yeah, we find out that her real name is Yumiko. You know, we find out that her real name is Yumiko, and again, she was given the name of Ninjara because of something she had done in the past. So, but again, not to give much away, but she does kind of, this trip home, along with Raphael and her brother, helps her, in a sense, kind of reconcile with that past and accept the fact that, yeah, I'm going to be known as Ninjara for as long as I live, but my real name is Yumiko. And I kind of like that. I really do. I kind of like that ending because, in a sense, it helped her reconcile of what she had done for herself, of what she had done in the past, and kind of accept what she did. Now, again, like I said, her and Raphael's relationship only lasted to about issue 71, 72. So about, in the main comic, for about 40 or something, about 43 to 40, 42 to 43 issues. You add in several super specials, would make it about 46. The crossover with the mutant animals, which would make it about almost. She basically, overall, with the franchise, the main comic, the mutant animal spin-off, as well as the several super specials, you could say she was there for about 50 issues overall, which is pretty cool. Like I said, she was with the franchise for about 50 or so issues. Again, like I said, which is pretty cool. Now, will she ever come back? I don't really think we can. But here's the thing: Ninjara is one of those characters that, just like with the Ken Pender situation with the Sonic, with the Knuckle, or the Ken Pender situation, her rights are owned by the people that created her, and they have licensed her out to be in the Ninja Turtle comic book and be part of the Ninja Turtle team. However, I look at these writers, or these creators of her, and I see them as probably being the kind that would license her out again. So, to me, you know, as much as a lot of us wanted to see Mona Lisa come back in the Ninja Turtle franchise, because that's who I was alluding to earlier, as to who made her debut, or re-debut, if you will, this past Sunday. As much as we wanted to see her back in the series, or back in the franchise, the same could be said for Ninjara. People want to see her back. It may not be, you know, as, you know, in your face, but there's a lot of people, including myself, that would love to see Ninjara back with the franchise. And I look at her creators as being probably the kind of people that would be willing to license her out to maybe make an appearance, show up in the Nickelodeon TMNT series. I really do. So, if you want to, you could start that, hashtag Ninjara for 2012 TMNT. That would be tremendous. Because come on, if you can get all these other characters coming back, whether they're established or created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird or whatever, but if you can get them to come back, that's fine. But to me, I think getting someone like Ninjara back somehow would be tremendous, and getting her in that series would be an even bigger payoff. So hashtag Ninjara for 2012 TMNT series, or for Nick TMNT series. Get that started, because I think getting her in the series would be tremendous. And, you know, who knows? You might be able to. I mean, here's the thing: you could probably pair her off with Raphael too. But I know some people are saying, well, Raphael's got Mona Lisa now. Yeah, Raphael's got Mona Lisa, but the thing is it a permanent thing? We don't know. Are they going to take a page out of the original cartoon series? We don't know. But the thing is, yeah, he has her, but it's not a permanent thing, unless they make it that way. I mean, they have indicated that's going to happen, so that does open the door. But who would be the one to probably end up with Ninjara? I would have to go and say Michelangelo. Now, you might say, well, Michelangelo's got a girlfriend too. It's a temptress. It's that time temptress, right? Yeah, in a sense, but I think that was just a one-time deal. So I would definitely say, to kind of put a twist on it, if they were to bring her in, because even though she was friends with Michelangelo and she cared about him, well, and, you know, even though she was friends with Michelangelo and she cared about him, you know, maybe not on the level romantically that she did for Raphael, but she did care about him like a brother or a best friend. So to me, bringing her in and maybe making her a semi-love interest for Michelangelo, that might be pretty good. But if you want to bring her in and make her like an Earth-like love interest for Raphael, in case Mona Lisa doesn't appear after the season, that'd be interesting too. So, to me, I would definitely like to see Ninjara in there. So hashtag Ninjara for 2012 Nick TMNT. So, that's all I'm going to say on Ninjara. Sorry this audio, um, this audio was long, but let me know what you guys think. Comment down below, and I'll talk to y'all later.